Hello and welcome to Eavesdropping at the Movies. I'm Mike.
And I'm Jose.
American made, yeah. Rubbish, isn't it?
I didn't think it was rubbish, but because I think in some ways it was technically very well made. Some of the shots of the aviation were beautiful, but I think it's an immoral film. I actually don't see what they thought they were doing going in, because it's a very unappealing situation. And it's done in a very unappealing way. I mean, the whole plot is about this airline pilot who seems to get drawn in by the CIA to take aerial photographs of revolutionaries in Latin America, which might be seen as patriotic, though certainly not by Latin Americans, But then it becomes just ugly. It becomes this story about this guy who gets drawn into the drug trade, who revels in the excitement and the danger and the money, right? And loses everything at the end.
Spoilers.
Spoilers. So this very unappealing character who gets drawn into the drug trade, gets drawn into very ugly politics because, the whole film is about the role he played in American intervention in Honduras and Nicaragua and other Latin American countries where they actually helped arm insurgents, and then about the role played in the White House and all of this. It's just like one, unappealing, immoral thing after another. And in the meantime, in the personal story, it's a guy who has a very nice suburban house, and at the end, basically, his wife is once more working at Kentucky Fried Chicken, but she's got a diamond bracelet. So what's the point of the story, right? It's just kind of... It felt icky to me. It felt like there were moments where I was appalled by what I was seeing. and one of the things that appalled me was not just the politics of it, actually, but also the way that all the Latin Americans were represented in it. It's kind of almost every stereotype of oily, vicious, slightly kind of barbaric, or more than slightly barbaric, uncultured person is what you see depicted as, people in Colombia and Nicaragua and Honduras. It's an immoral film.
Yeah.
What do you think?
Well, I mean, I think, on top of all that, which obviously I thought of as well independently, I didn't think it was particularly well made, to be honest.
Mm-hmm.
You're right on there were certain shots, and there were one or two set pieces that worked very well. But this is directed by Doug Liman, who directed Edge of Tomorrow, which is a film that is so tight, and so, apart from the very end, which goes off, but it's so brilliantly constructed. Because in Edge of Tomorrow, you have these sequences where, just in a few shots, showing similar things but just slightly changed, you get this whole story about how Tom Cruise's character has, because he's in these time loops in it, like Groundhog Day, and you get these whole stories in just a few moments of how his character has learned something, and it's so economical and so tight and brilliant. And in this is all over. It's got these long, dull, badly thought out sort of. It's baggy.
Yeah.
Outside of those set pieces that it has, like the one where the plane's taking off, and is he going to make it or not? Great, but in between all this stuff, baggy, aimless, directionless. Where's it going to go? No sense of tempo. It's far too long.
I thought it's a kind of film that, of course, Howard Hawks would have done brilliantly, right? Angels with Wings is, kind of something that's very similar to the story. I also thought that it's the kind of film that somebody like Errol Flynn in his prime, really roguish and handsome and, and really charming, and you could imagine him running guns and, kind of dealing drugs and sleeping with 1,000 women, and you wouldn't think about the issue of morality, right? But I thought Tom Cruise was very charming in it, but not in that Errol Flynn way. So, and also the story was very different. Here, the politics were brought to bear. So it made you think of them in a different way than if it was just a cartoon adventure, right? It had a kind of a different edge, I think.
I think Tom Cruise needs to be more of a bastard than he is, because his character, that is, because one of the problems I had with his character, really, is that he doesn't do anything for himself.
Yes.
He doesn't come up with these ideas. He doesn't say, "I'm going to do this. I'm going to go." He's been smuggling cigars. He's a normal airline pilot for TWA.
Yeah.
And amongst his regular job of piloting planes, passenger planes, he smuggles cigars from Cuba.
Yeah.
Small time stuff. But that's how he's discovered by the CIA, who then say, "Have this really fancy plane. Go and is it drugs at the start? I think."
Yes.
Go and do some stuff with drugs in Colombia and
No, the original thing was to take the photos.
Sorry, yes, that's right.
Yeah.
So it starts off with the photos, go and take photos, and then the Colombians
Approach him about the drugs.
Escobar and the other two, they capture him basically and say, "We want you to start smuggling drugs into America." So he's told to do that,
Yes.
and then it becomes he's told to start smuggling weapons down to them, and then he's told to do this, that, and the other, and he doesn't do anything on his own. It's not like he comes up with these great ideas of "I'm going to be a bastard." He's just wandering around doing
Yes.
what he's told.
He's everybody else's pawn. But that's an interesting thing about the
I
film.
think it might be. That's the problem. I think
Yeah.
it might be interesting, but it doesn't go anywhere.
Yeah. I thought what was interesting, and what you've just said elucidates it a bit further for me. So what I found originally interesting was, that he's a loving husband. And from all that we see, he's kind of faithful, and he loves his wife, and he loves his family, and he does everything for them. Which kind of and that's very unusual in a film of this kind. And
Although
then-
I did find that very unconvincing.
Yes.
I mean, I thought maybe it's because the family wasn't maybe it wasn't portrayed well enough, but I just didn't find any of that believable. I thought that he was going to be sleeping with stewardesses and Christ knows what.
Well, the
But you have
casting-
to just take it on faith that he loves his family. In
the
a way.
casting of his wife is a problem.
Yeah.
Is
Is what all I was saying to you earlier was she's 25 years too young.
at least, right? So she's too
Well, she's
young.
not. She's not a teenager.
Well, but he's 55 and she's no more than 25, so that's 30. Yeah. So
She might be. She might be in her 30s. Well, I'm going to
let's
find
look her
out because that's what we do.
yeah.
Sarah Wright. She's 33,
Okay.
which is 20 years too young.
22.
How accurate do you need it to be?
Well, you bring it up. So she's anyway. The point is, she's way too young for him, and also she's too generic.
Yeah.
She's like the television blonde leggy actress whose name, whose face I can't remember now, much less her name. Right, and we've just seen the film, and already like you can't remember her. I mean, she's that type of like pretty blonde, leggy blonde that you see on television all the time, and she's not bad. But the whole casting thing seems off, and actually I think the casting had repercussions because I also thought all of Tom Cruise's pals, all of his fellow flyers in the film, they're all 20 years older than they should be. I mean, these should all be young men in like from 20 to 40, say, or 25 to 40, right? Whereas they all look over 40, and that's just so that they can match up with the hero of the story, which is Tom Cruise. So actually, I think in that way, the film loses appeal on many levels. Anyway, it was a big disappointment because I'm a fan of Tom Cruise's.
Unless the real guy was actually that old. You never know. Maybe it was super authentic, and this Barry Seal was a really old smuggling.
Yeah, he was a 55-year-old.
He died at 46.
So there you go. He died like
10 years younger than
10
Tom
years
Cruise.
younger than Tom Cruise, and the film begins 10 years before that, right? So
Yeah.
he's too old for the part. And actually, I don't like his look at the moment because he looks like he's had too much work on his face, right?
No.
He's got all under his eyelids is like hollowed out, and tight, which it's not meant to be. And then his face has that puffed up look of people who've had too much Botox.
Who are you to
It's
judge
completely
what a
unlined.
face should look like?
I'm a critic. What do you think? If not I, who?
You look like a hairy egg
Well, good. I look natural.
that a child has drawn a face on.
So anyway, it's a very disappointing film, and not only disappointing, but actually it made me angry a little bit, you know. I mean, not angry enough to be excited about, but actually I thought it was an immoral film.
Yeah.
Good, on to the next one.
Well, yeah, that's what I mean. It's a piece of shit.
Yeah. I wouldn't...